think you received a copy of the letter before you came there. Would you like to comment on that, or have any?
You know, the mayor and I have talked about it. This is in regards to an October call that we had where gentleman, Dean Mayer, former police officer, was cutting trees, and a tree fell down, hit his backhoe that he was on, and pinned him in the backhoe. I think I talked about it in the last meeting. You know, I read this mayor's letter. I certainly sympathize with her concerns and her thoughts. And I just, from watching the body cam videos to talking to the guys that were on scene, I fully support in the way they conducted the operation. A situation like that where, again, Chief Hartshine and I were kind of trying to estimate the size of the tree that was on top of its backhoe, possibly 90,000 pounds.
Yeah.
One wrong cut, one wrong move, and the situation doesn't end the way it did.
I just want to add to that upon receipt of that letter, which I think was addressed to me, I called Ms. Mayer and I invited her to come to the office to speak in person and bring Mr. Mayer too, if she wished, to speak with Chief Brown and me and further discuss it. And I called her, talked to her at the time. She has not yet responded back after I've done a follow-up call to set up a time, but she's invited, she knows that.
So essentially, like I said, you know, the personnel that from there on scene, I think made good decisions with safety in mind, for not only Mr. Mayor, but again, anybody in and around. If you watch the body cams, there's people in and out of this area. Once again, a wrong cut could hurt a lot of people. So,
Is that something that you guys typically train on? I mean, is that part of vehicle extractions?
you know, you use a lot of the same tools, but with the tree, especially that size, again, if you cut it in one spot, is it going to twist? Is it going to move one way or the other? Yeah, training for that is tough. You know, we talked about it that night. It's not something you train for. It's just managing what you've got. And again, one of the first things they did is they put stabilizers underneath the tree to make sure it didn't, you know, shift one way or the other. But really, it was just kind of a real life Jenga game, kind of, because you had to be careful on what you did. So.
Right. And I mean, I've been involved in situations like that in my career, the Park Service, and trees do have, you know, once they go, they have a mind of their own, and really got to be careful. I know that a lot of extensive training has gone into that, and I would just hope that, you know, it doesn't happen all the time, but when it does happen, that, you know, if you do not have the equipment or the training, then please let us know, because we'll make sure you have the equipment and the training. You know, as far as expenditures to get that, you know, training and equipment into your station. So I would hope that you would extend that. If you need something, please reach out, and I know I will at least do what I can do to get you what you need. Any other comments?
Yeah, I have one. As far as, it's more of equipment, so I took a look at the body cam video, and do all the firemen have turnout gear?
Yes.
So
that's been addressed.
all right, I noticed there was somebody in shorts, t-shirt, running the winch in the front of the fire truck, and I was concerned.
He was.
No helmet, no
Right.
long pants, no boots.
Right.
You know, we're gonna have another victim when that cable snaps, or
Sure.
right? So, and there was plenty of time to put that stuff on. So that was concerning for me.
Yeah, I did.
There was a lot of concern about people walking under the tree, you know, under that cable.
Yeah, there needed to be a little bit better control of who was in that. There was a couple bystanders that actually just kind of wandered in, and that was concerning as well.
The police department did a hell of a job, you know, doing what they could. I did like that. They were very concerned and doing everything they could. So hats off to your team. But yeah, I was just a little concerned about really more just the one individual. I don't know who it is, but he had no safety gear. You know, we don't need another person injured and workman's comp claim. And so I thank you for addressing that with him. And like you said, if you need equipment, I think you got our support. So
A crane was about the only thing we could have used in getting them there, but.
Aaron?
Yeah, I think the letter was written emotionally, but I revert back to my notes I got here from the 18th, and I'm gonna come at you a little bit, because I feel like you sold us a bill of goods when you come in here and you told us about it. And like, that was a traumatizing day, I think, for the Mayer family. And I think the piece that's missing is, like, this is a small town. Like, Dean's a friend of all of ours. And then to hear what you portrayed to us, like, I felt really good about it when you walked out of here, and proud of our people. And then this letter came, emotionally driven, as it should be. Then I watched the footage, and like, I've been doing police work for 15 years. I couldn't tell you what the hell was going on out there. Who was in charge, who wasn't in charge, or anything else. And that's no knock necessarily to the guys on the ground out there. If we're gonna put people in charge, they gotta be properly trained. And I don't know that the guys that we had there that night, if they didn't have the leadership of you not being there with them to get them through this, and I'm sure a lot of them know, Dean as well, and that's a tough thing to do. When the Reaper's knocking at the door and you gotta start making decisions that affect the guy that you care about, that's tough to do. But to not have equipment on the truck that could have fixed that quicker, having civilians in there cutting on trees and everything else, that is a huge problem and a huge liability. And I hope in the future that it's fixed.
Any other comments, questions? Mr. Rose?
Yeah, I'll just reiterate what Gary said a little bit there. When I heard some people have reached out to me before the last meeting, when I heard your report, I'm like, oh, this sounds pretty good. And if the family's not gonna make a big deal about it, I'm not gonna go grab body cams and stuff. The chief knows I have no shyness going down to the station and asking for that stuff, and I always appreciate him for getting that. But then when I get this letter emailed to me, I reached out to the chief, and I think he set up that OneDrive for us in less than an hour? It was quick. I appreciate it. I'm glad that other people had watched that. It makes notice in here, and a couple of you guys had touched it. I'm not a first responder like a lot of these guys have. I don't turn out gear. It makes sense to me once I hear it. I understand what that is. I thought there was more than one person that didn't have gear on. It might have been one of the civilians you're talking about. But this says that Captain Derek Kubey was in charge that day. Is that right? And he was one of the ones not wearing any turnout gear?
Correct.
But you said that's been handled, because I don't know that scenario. I've never been in that scenario. I probably never will. Hopefully I never am. But it seemed like people running around up and under trees and hopping on there and randomly cutting off limbs and stuff. It seemed a little crazy to me. I'm glad it all worked out, and hopefully you guys take a close look at this. And I can't think of one bad thing to say about any single police officer that was there. I'm not sure if I would have grabbed a chainsaw and just instantly cut something, because Dean said, hey, start cutting this thing. And I get where he's coming from. He's trapped. Yeah, that's why I want to reiterate, is the report that was given to us doesn't seem anywhere close to what had actually happened.
Well, if you'd like, I will forward you my response. The mayor, when he forwarded that letter to me, I did go through it, and I tried to explain why we did what we did and why we did it. So I'll forward that to you.
And that may shed a little more light to some of the concerns everybody has. Like, I don't know all your guys' procedures and things like that. And it's no disrespect to any of your guys, and I hope none of them take what I'm saying that way. But I think it boils down to a piece of leadership that was missing that day, and we've got to fix that.
So, in a major incident like this, I would expect like an incident command center set up. I would expect like a formal debriefing when you're done, kind of like the ICS model, right? Have you done a debrief, or are you in the process?
Yes, we did. We did one following Monday. I think it was the Monday right after, if not the one following. And one thing, talking about and I know Mrs. Mayor, one of her concerns was that Derek, who was the incident commander, spent a lot of time in the front of the building, and that's okay. Based on incident command, that's okay. He doesn't need to be in there turning wrenches, cutting limbs. His job is to manage the scene. He had 2 people in charge of the operations of, okay, what are we gonna do? We're gonna cut, we're gonna hold this, what are we gonna do? He was in constant communication with EMS if there was any issues that would come up, which they were monitoring. I believe they had him on a EKG towards the end. So that was being watched. But at that time, there was no real health issues that were getting worse, so there was no reason really to act rashly. So they're trying to take their time to be safe about it. So, you know, there was talk of why were there other departments that were left up on the road. Well, one of those departments was in charge of the landing zone. And again, if the personnel weren't needed right there on the scene, they were kept back in staging. So what they did in terms of how they managed the scene, yeah, turnout gear should have been more, no doubt about that. We had all the equipment that you would normally have. We had chainsaws. We had a winch. You know, we didn't have a crane. But, you know, aside from that, we had everything that we could possibly use. Stabilizing kit that we used, so.
Was your debrief, is it documented or is it just like a?
It's basically kind of a high wash, you know, we talked about the incident, what happened, and everybody does it a little bit differently. We talked about what the scene was, what they did, what could have been done differently, you know, some other ideas. And again, luckily with this scene, I don't think we had the body cam when we did the debrief, which would have been nice as well to see that. But you know, initially the guys were pretty comfortable in terms of how they reacted. And again, never having to do anything like that before, which is.
Yeah, I definitely think your members watch that body cam and have another day of training. It'll definitely be beneficial.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, and maybe now we can have a couple vendors on standby within the city with cranes. I mean, there's enough tree services in the city.
Exactly.
Mike's Tree Service, Warren's Tree Service, right? Maybe get some numbers on speed dial, right? In case we need to bring them in and pay for them to.
And even Dylan, is it Dylan Wood? Used to have a tree business. I actually talked to him.
Might get treated this, you know.
Yeah, and he said, hey, please call me anytime. Okay. Again, it's never happened before, so.
Yeah, I just, I may have questions. I have not had the opportunity to review that video just because of my work conflict, but not to pile on next meeting, I may have questions, just to let you know that. So I'm not here to keep badgering it, but if you don't feel right evaluating, having not looked at that, so thank you.
I know in law enforcement, even in fire EMS, I've been involved in, I mean, you do all the training, you do all the planning, till the moment when something unusual happens like this, and you gotta think outside the box. You know, the good thing about the whole incident is, you know, Dean is extracted, he's doing well, he's recovering, he's doing well, so, and again, we just move forward and learn from what we can do and, what we're not gonna do. But I think there's more of what we can do instead of what we didn't do right. I think there's more what we can do to better plan, so, not saying there's nothing maliciously done or not done. I think it's what can we do from this point on.
Great learning tool.
Okay? Anderson, yes.